When my son called another woman mom, I didn't cry. I just stood there holding my breath, feeling the world slow down around me. The kitchen was quiet, except for the soft ticking of the old clock on the wall. I remember the way the sunlight fell across the table, making everything look golden and gentle, even though my heart felt anything but gentle in that moment. I had always imagined that motherhood would be a journey of love and sacrifice, but I never thought it would end with me feeling like a stranger in my own child's life. I raised him alone. Every scrape, every sleepless night, every birthday candle, I was there. I was the one who held him when he was scared, who cheered for him at every school play, who whispered goodnight when the world felt too big. But now as I stood in the doorway, I heard him laugh with her. He called her mom so easily, as if the word had never belonged to me. I wanted to step forward to remind him of all the years we had shared, but my feet felt heavy. My hands trembled just a little. I wondered if he even noticed. That day, something inside me changed. I realized that love doesn't always guarantee a place in someone's heart. Sometimes love means letting go, even when every part of you wants to hold on. I wish I could say I understood why things turned out this way, but the truth is I'm still searching for answers. This is my story. It's not a story of anger or blame. It's a story of quiet heartbreak, of memories that linger, and of the hope that maybe one day, he'll remember the woman who raised him alone. My name is Lila. I grew up in a small town where everyone knew each other's names and secrets. My parents were simple people. My father worked at the post office, and my mother baked bread for the neighbors. I learned early on that family was everything. We didn't have much, but we had each other. When I was 23, I met Daniel. He was kind, with a gentle smile and eyes that seemed to understand me. We married quickly, maybe too quickly, but I was young and hopeful. We dreamed of a big family, a house filled with laughter, and the smell of fresh bread, just like my mother's kitchen. But life doesn't always follow our plans. After 3 years, Daniel left. He said he needed to find himself, that he wasn't ready to be a father. I remember the night he packed his bags. The rain tapped softly against the window, and our son Jamie was just a baby sleeping in his crib. I stood in the hallway watching Daniel's back as he walked away. I wanted to call out, to ask him to stay, but the words wouldn't come. From that night on, it was just Jamie and me. I worked 2 jobs, one at the bakery in the mornings, and another cleaning offices at night. Money was always tight, but I made sure Jamie never went without. I learned how to fix leaky faucets, how to sew buttons, how to make a single chicken last for 3 meals. I learned how to be both mother and father. Jamie was a quiet child. He loved to draw, filling page after page with pictures of our little house, of trees and birds, and sometimes a man with a suitcase. I never asked him about the man. I just hugged him a little tighter on those nights. Our home was small but warm. The kitchen was the heart of it all. I would wake up early to make Jamie's favorite pancakes, and we would sit together at the table talking about his dreams. He wanted to be an artist, to travel the world and paint everything he saw. I told him he could be anything he wanted, as long as he remembered where he came from. As Jamie grew older, the world outside our home started to pull him away. He made friends, joined clubs, and spent more time at school. I never remarried. People would ask me why, but I always said that Jamie was enough. He was my whole world. I wanted to give him everything I could, even if it meant going without myself. I wanted him to feel loved, to know that he was never alone. But as the years passed, I started to notice small changes. Jamie became quieter, more distant. He stopped sharing his drawings with me. He spent more time in his room, talking on the phone or staring out the window. I told myself it was just a phase, that all teenagers go through it. But deep down I worried. I wondered if I was enough. One evening, as I was making dinner, Jamie came into the kitchen. He looked tired, his eyes shadowed with something I couldn't name. "Mom, can I ask you something?" he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "Of course, sweetheart. You can ask me anything." He hesitated, looking down at his hands. "Do you ever wish things were different?" That Dad was still here. The question caught me off guard. I set down the spoon and walked over to him, placing a hand on his shoulder. "Sometimes," I admitted, "but I wouldn't trade a single day with you for anything in the world." He nodded, but I could see the sadness in his eyes. I wanted to take it away to make everything better, but I didn't know how. That night, after Jamie went to bed, I sat alone at the kitchen table, listening to the quiet hum of the refrigerator. I thought about all the things I wanted to say to him, all the ways I wished I could protect him from the world. But I knew that some things he would have to figure out on his own. The years seemed to pass faster after that night. Jamie grew taller, his voice deepened, and his world grew bigger than our little house. He started high school, and suddenly there were new friends, new teachers, and new worries. I tried to keep up, but sometimes I felt like I was running after a train that had already left the station. I remember one evening I was sitting at the kitchen table, sorting through bills, when Jamie came home later than usual. The house was quiet except for the sound of the clock ticking and the soft hum of the refrigerator. I looked up as he walked in, his backpack slung over one shoulder, his hair a little messy. "Hey, sweetheart. You're home late," I said, trying to keep my voice light. He shrugged, not meeting my eyes. "I stayed after school. There was a club meeting." I nodded, trying not to sound worried. "Did you eat? I saved you some dinner." He shook his head. "I'm not hungry. I'm just going to my room." I watched him disappear down the hallway, the door closing softly behind him. I sat there for a long time, staring at the plate of food I had kept warm for him. I wondered if he was really not hungry, or if something else was bothering him. The next few weeks were much the same. Jamie spent more and more time in his room, his laughter growing quieter, his smiles less frequent. I tried to talk to him, to ask about his day, but he always seemed distracted, his answers short and distant. One Saturday morning, I decided to make his favorite breakfast, pancakes with strawberries and whipped cream. I hoped it would bring back some of the old warmth between us. I set the table, poured 2 glasses of orange juice, and called him down. "Jamie, breakfast is ready." He came down a few minutes later, his eyes still heavy with sleep. He sat across from me, picking at his food. "Is everything okay at school?" I asked gently. He nodded, not looking up. "Yeah, it's fine." I tried again. "You know you can talk to me about anything, right?" He finally looked at me, his eyes tired. "I know, Mom. I'm just tired, I guess." I wanted to believe him, but I could feel the distance growing between us. I wondered if it was just part of growing up, or if I had done something wrong. As the months went by, Jamie started spending more time with a new friend, Mark. Mark's family was different from ours. They had a big house, 2 cars, and parents who seemed to have it all together. Jamie would come home talking about the things they did, the trips they took, the games they played, the dinners they shared. One evening, Jamie asked if he could stay over at Mark's house for the weekend. I hesitated, but I didn't want to be the kind of mother who said no out of fear. "Of course, sweetheart. Just call me if you need anything." He smiled, and for a moment I saw the little boy he used to be. "Thanks, Mom." That weekend, the house felt emptier than usual. I kept busy, cleaning and baking, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something was changing. When Jamie came home on Sunday night, he seemed different, happier, more relaxed. "Did you have a good time?" I asked. He nodded, grinning. "Yeah, Mark's mom made lasagna. She's really nice." I smiled, but inside I felt a small ache. I wanted Jamie to have good experiences, to feel loved and cared for, but I couldn't help feeling like I was being replaced. Over the next few months, Jamie spent more and more time at Mark's house. He talked about Mark's mom, Susan, with a kind of admiration I hadn't seen before. "Susan helped me with my homework," he said one night. "She's really good at math." "That's nice," I replied, trying to hide the jealousy in my voice. "She said I could come over any time," he added. I nodded, forcing a smile. "I'm glad you have good friends, Jamie." But the truth was, I felt like I was losing him. Every time he left for Mark's house, I wondered if he would come back a little less mine. One afternoon, I was folding laundry when I heard Jamie talking on the phone in his room. His voice was soft, but I could hear the laughter in it. I paused, listening. "Yeah, I'll ask my mom. She probably won't mind," he said. I waited for him to come out to ask me whatever it was he wanted, but he stayed in his room. Later that evening, he came into the kitchen, his hands in his pockets. "Mom," Can I go with Mark's family to the lake this weekend? They invited me. I hesitated. I wanted to say no to keep him close, but I knew I couldn't hold on too tightly. Of course, sweetheart. Just be careful, and call me if you need anything. He smiled, hugging me quickly before running off to pack. I stood in the kitchen watching him go, feeling both proud and heartbroken. That weekend, the house was quieter than ever. I tried to keep busy, but my thoughts kept drifting to Jamie. I wondered if he missed me, if he thought about home at all. When he came back, he was full of stories about swimming in the lake, roasting marshmallows, and playing games with Mark's family. He talked about Susan, how she made the best hot chocolate, how she listened to his stories and laughed at his jokes. I listened, smiling and nodding, but inside I felt a growing sense of loss. I wondered if I was enough for him, if he needed more than I could give. As the school year went on, Jamie's grades started to slip. He seemed distracted, his mind always somewhere else. I tried to help him with his homework, but he would get frustrated, snapping at me. "I'll just ask Susan," he said one night, pushing his books away. I felt a sting in my chest, but I tried to stay calm. "I'm here if you need me, Jamie." He didn't answer, just went to his room and closed the door. I sat at the kitchen table, staring at the empty chair across from me. I wondered if I was losing him, if I had already lost him. One evening, I decided to talk to him. I knocked on his door, waiting for him to answer. "Come in," he said. His voice muffled as I opened the door, sitting on the edge of his bed. He was staring at his phone, not looking at me. "Jamie, can we talk?" He sighed, setting his phone aside. "About what?" I nodded, trying to understand. "I get it. I just want to make sure you're happy." He smiled, a small, grateful smile. "I am, Mom. I promise." I hugged him, holding on a little longer than usual. I wanted to believe him, to trust that everything would be okay. But as the days went by, the distance between us grew. Jamie started calling Susan for help with his homework, for advice about school, even for rides to and from practice. He talked about her the way he used to talk about me. One afternoon, I came home from work to find Jamie sitting at the kitchen table with Susan. She had stopped by to drop off some books, and they were laughing together, sharing a joke I didn't understand. "Hi, Lila," Susan said, smiling warmly. "I hope you don't mind. Jamie invited me in." "Of course not," I replied, forcing a smile. Jamie looked up, his eyes bright. "Susan helped me with my science project. She's really good at this stuff." I nodded, feeling out of place in my own home. I thanked Susan for her help, but inside I felt a growing sense of insecurity. I wondered if Jamie saw me as less than, if he wished I could be more like her. That night I lay awake, listening to the quiet house. I thought about all the years I had spent raising Jamie alone, all the sacrifices I had made. I wondered if it was enough, if I was enough. The next day, Jamie came home with a permission slip for a school trip. He handed it to me, barely looking up. "Can you sign this? Susan said she could chaperone if you're busy." I felt a lump in my throat, but I nodded, signing the paper. "I can take the day off if you want me to come." He shook his head. "It's okay, Mom. Susan already said yes." I watched him walk away, feeling like I was losing him to another family, to another mother. As the weeks went by, Jamie started spending more and more time at Mark's house. He would come home late, sometimes not at all, and when he did, he barely spoke to me. I tried to reach out to bring him back, but it felt like he was slipping through my fingers. One evening, I decided to call Susan. I wanted to thank her for looking out for Jamie, but also to ask her to encourage him to spend more time at home. "Hi, Susan. It's Lila," I said, my voice trembling just a little. "Hi, Lila. Is everything okay? I just wanted to thank you for everything you've done for Jamie. He really looks up to you." She paused, her voice gentle. "He's a wonderful boy, Lila. You've done an amazing job with him." I swallowed hard, trying to keep my emotions in check. I miss him. I feel like I'm losing him." Susan was quiet for a moment. "He's growing up, Lila. It's hard, I know, but he loves you. He talks about you all the time." I nodded, tears stinging my eyes. "Thank you, Susan. I appreciate everything you've done." After I hung up, I sat in the kitchen staring at the phone. I wondered if I was being selfish, if I should be grateful that Jamie had someone else to turn to. But I couldn't help feeling like I was being replaced. The final straw came one evening when Jamie came home late. I was waiting up for him, the house dark except for the light in the kitchen. "Jamie, where have you been?" I was worried. He shrugged, dropping his backpack on the floor. "I was at Mark's. We had dinner there." I tried to keep my voice steady. "You could have called." He looked at me, his eyes tired. "I'm sorry, Mom. I just forgot." I nodded, not trusting myself to speak. He hesitated, then said, "Susan said I could stay over there if I wanted. She said I'm always welcome." I felt my heart break a little. I wanted to tell him no, to ask him to stay, but I knew I couldn't force him. "If that's what you want, Jamie," I said quietly. He looked at me, his eyes softening. "I'll come home tomorrow. I promise." I nodded, watching him go. I sat in the kitchen for a long time, listening to the silence. That night I realized that sometimes love means letting go. It means trusting that the child you raised will find his own way, even if it means calling someone else mom. The days after Jamie started staying at Mark's house felt long and empty. I tried to keep myself busy, cleaning, baking, even taking up knitting again, but nothing filled the quiet. The house felt too big for just one person. Every time I passed Jamie's room I paused, hoping to hear his voice or see his light on, but it was always dark and silent. I told myself this was just a phase, that he would come back, that he just needed space. But deep down I knew something had changed. I could feel it in the way he spoke to me, in the way he avoided my eyes, in the way he seemed more at home somewhere else. One Saturday morning I decided to call Jamie. I missed him. I wanted to hear his voice, to know he was okay. The phone rang a few times before he answered. "Hello." "Hi, sweetheart. It's Mom." "Oh, hey, Mom." His voice sounded distracted, like he was in the middle of something. "I was just wondering if you wanted to come home for dinner tonight. I'm making your favorite chicken pot pie." He was quiet for a moment. I don't know. Susan said she was making lasagna tonight, and Mark and I were going to watch a movie." I tried to hide the disappointment in my voice. "That sounds nice. Maybe another night, then." "Yeah, maybe. I'll let you know." We said goodbye and I hung up, staring at the phone in my hand. I felt foolish for hoping, for thinking that a simple meal could bring him back. That evening I set the table for one. I ate in silence, the only sound the clink of my fork against the plate. I thought about all the dinners we had shared, all the laughter and stories, and I wondered when it had all changed. The next day, I decided to visit Jamie at Mark's house. I baked a batch of his favorite cookies and walked over, my heart pounding in my chest. When I knocked on the door, Susan answered, her smile warm and welcoming. "Lila, what a nice surprise. Come in." I stepped inside, the house filled with the smell of lasagna and the sound of laughter. Jamie and Mark were in the living room playing a video game. Jamie looked up, surprised to see me. "Mom, what are you doing here?" I held out the cookies, trying to smile. "I thought you might like these." He took them, glancing at Susan. "Thanks." Susan smiled at me. "Would you like to stay for dinner, Lila? There's plenty." I hesitated, feeling out of place. "No, thank you. I just wanted to drop these off." Jamie barely looked at me. He was already back to his game, laughing with Mark. I stood there for a moment, feeling invisible. Susan touched my arm gently. "He's a good boy, Lila. He just needs time." I nodded, blinking back tears. "Thank you, Susan." I walked home slowly, the evening air cool against my skin. I felt like I was walking away from something I couldn't get back. That night, I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling. I thought about all the years I had spent raising Jamie alone, all the sacrifices I had made. I wondered if I had done something wrong, if I had pushed him away without meaning to. A few days later, Jamie came home to pick up some clothes. I was in the kitchen folding laundry when he walked in. "Hey, Mom." "Hi, sweetheart. How are you?" He shrugged, not meeting my eyes. "I'm fine. Just need to grab some stuff." I watched him move around the house, gathering his things. He seemed restless, uncomfortable. "Jamie, can we talk for a minute?" He sighed, setting his bag down. What is it, Mom? I took a deep breath, trying to find the right words. I miss you. I miss having you here. I know things are different now, but I want you to know that you'll always have a home here. He looked at me, his eyes softening for a moment. I know, Mom. It's easier at Mark's. Susan helps me with my homework and it's quieter there. I don't have to worry about anything. I nodded, feeling a lump in my throat. I understand. I just want you to be happy. He smiled a small, sad smile. I am, Mom. I promise. He hugged me, but it felt different, more like a goodbye than a welcome home. After he left, I sat in the kitchen, staring at the empty chair across from me. I wondered if this was what it meant to let go, to watch your child grow up and find their own way. A few weeks later, the school held a parent-teacher night. I decided to go, hoping to hear good things about Jamie, to feel connected to his life again. When I arrived, the hallways were filled with parents and students, laughter and chatter echoing off the walls. I found Jamie's classroom and waited in line to speak with his teacher. When it was my turn, the teacher smiled at me. You must be Jamie's mother. I nodded, my heart swelling with pride. Yes, I am. She glanced at her notes. Jamie is a wonderful student. He's been doing much better lately. Susan has been very involved. She's been helping him with his assignments and projects. I felt my smile falter. Susan. The teacher nodded. Yes, Susan. She's been a great support for Jamie. I thanked her and walked out of the classroom, my heart heavy. I realized that Susan was more than just a friend's mother. She was becoming a second mother to Jamie. On the way home, I thought about all the times Jamie had chosen Susan over me, all the moments I had missed. I wondered if I had failed him, if I had not been enough. A few days later, the moment I had been dreading finally came. Jamie came home, his face serious. Mom, can we talk? I nodded, my heart pounding. He sat down at the kitchen table, his hands folded in his lap. I've been thinking. I want to stay at Mark's house for a while. Susan said it's okay, and I think it would be good for me. I felt my heart break, but I tried to stay calm. If that's what you want, Jamie, I won't stop you. But I want you to know that you'll always have a home here. He nodded, his eyes shining with tears. Thank you, Mom. He hugged me, holding on a little longer this time. I closed my eyes, breathing in the scent of his hair, memorizing the feel of his arms around me. After he left, I sat in the kitchen, the silence pressing in around me. I realized that sometimes love means letting go, even when it hurts. A few weeks later, I saw Jamie and Susan together at the grocery store. They were laughing, sharing a joke, and for a moment I felt like an outsider in my own life. As I walked past, Jamie looked up and saw me. He smiled, but it was different, distant, polite. Hi, Mom, he said. Hi, sweetheart. How are you? I'm good. Susan and I are just picking up some things for dinner. I nodded, forcing a smile. That's nice. Susan smiled at me, her eyes kind. You raised a wonderful boy, Lila. I thanked her, my heart aching. I walked away, feeling like I had lost something I could never get back. That night, I sat alone in the kitchen, the house quiet and still. I thought about all the years I had spent raising Jamie, all the love I had given him. I wondered if it was enough, if he would ever come back. I realized that sometimes, being a mother means loving your child enough to let them go, to let them find their own way, even if it means calling someone else Mom. The days after Jamie moved out felt like a long, quiet winter. The house was still, and every room seemed to echo with memories. I found myself wandering from room to room, touching the things Jamie had left behind. A forgotten sock under his bed, a drawing tucked into a book, a mug with his favorite cartoon character on it. Each item felt like a small goodbye. I tried to keep busy. I went back to work at the bakery, taking extra shifts to fill the hours. I joined a knitting group at the library, hoping the company would ease the loneliness. But nothing filled the space Jamie had left behind. The house was too quiet, the days too long. Sometimes I would sit at the kitchen table in the evenings, a cup of tea growing cold in my hands, and remember the sound of Jamie's laughter, the way he used to tell me about his day, the way he would hug me goodnight. I missed him more than I could say. First, I hoped he would come back. I kept his room just the way he left it, the bed made, his favorite books on the shelf. I told myself he just needed time, that he would remember all the things we shared and come home. But as the weeks turned into months, I realized that things had changed. Jamie was building a new life, and I had to find a way to let him go. One afternoon I decided to call him. My hand shook as I dialed his number, my heart pounding in my chest. Hello. Jamie's voice was warm, but there was a distance in it. Hi, sweetheart. It's Mom. Hi, Mom. How are you? I'm okay. I just wanted to hear your voice. I miss you. He was quiet for a moment. I miss you too, Mom. I swallowed hard, trying to keep my voice steady. I hope you're happy, Jamie. That's all I ever wanted for you. I am, Mom. Susan and Mark's family have been really good to me. But I think about you all the time. His words were a small comfort, but they didn't fill the emptiness I felt. I wanted to ask him to come home, to tell him how much I needed him, but I knew I couldn't. I had to let him find his own way. After we hung up, I sat in the kitchen, tears streaming down my face. I realized that love sometimes means letting go, even when it hurts more than anything. As the months passed, I started to find small ways to heal. I spent more time with my knitting group, making blankets for the local hospital. I volunteered at the library, reading stories to children. I found comfort in the simple routines of daily life: baking bread, tending to my small garden, writing letters to old friends. Slowly, the pain began to fade. It never disappeared completely, but it became softer, like a bruise that no longer aches when you touch it. I learned to live with the quiet, to find peace in the stillness. One day, I received a letter in the mail. It was from Jamie. My hands trembled as I opened it, my heart racing. Dear Mom, I hope you're doing well. I wanted to write to you because sometimes it's easier to say things on paper. I know I haven't been around much, and I'm sorry if I hurt you. I never meant to make you feel left out or forgotten. Susan and Mark's family have been really good to me, but I want you to know that you're still my mom. No one can ever take your place. I think I just needed some space to figure things out. I miss our breakfasts, our talks, and the way you always knew how to make me feel better. I hope you can forgive me for pulling away. I love you, Mom. Love, Jamie. I read the letter over and over, tears streaming down my face. It was the first time in months that I felt truly seen, truly loved. I realized that Jamie hadn't forgotten me. He was just growing up, finding his own way, just like I had done when I was young. A few days later, Jamie called. His voice was softer, more familiar. Mom, can I come over for dinner this weekend? My heart leapt. Of course, sweetheart. I'll make your favorite. That Saturday, I spent the whole day in the kitchen, baking bread and making chicken pot pie. I set the table for two, lighting a candle and putting fresh flowers in a vase. When Jamie arrived, he looked older, more grown up, but his eyes were still the same. He hugged me, holding on a little longer than usual. I missed you, Mom. I missed you too, Jamie. We sat at the table eating and talking just like we used to. He told me about school, about his friends, about the things he was learning. I listened, my heart full. After dinner, we sat in the living room, looking through old photo albums. Jamie laughed at the pictures of himself as a little boy, his hair sticking up in every direction, his face covered in chocolate. Did I really look like that? He asked, grinning. I laughed, feeling lighter than I had in months. You were the cutest kid in the world. He smiled, his eyes shining. Thanks for everything, Mom. I know I haven't said it enough, but I appreciate everything you did for me. I reached over, taking his hand in mine. You don't have to thank me, Jamie. Being your mom has been the greatest gift of my life. He squeezed my hand, his eyes filling with tears. I love you, Mom. I love you too, Jamie. Always. That night after Jamie left, I sat in the quiet house, feeling a sense of peace I hadn't felt in a long time. I realized that even though things had changed, the bond between us was still there. It was different, but it was still strong. I learned that being a mother means loving your child enough to let them go, to let them find their own way, even if it means stepping back and watching from a distance. It means trusting that the love you gave them will always be a part of who they are, no matter where life takes them. Over time, Jamie started coming home more often, Sometimes he brought Mark with him, and the house was filled with laughter and noise again. Sometimes Susan would stop by, and we would sit together, sharing stories and recipes. I realized that I didn't have to compete with Susan. She wasn't taking my place. She was just another person who cared about Jamie, another person who wanted the best for him. I learned to be grateful for her kindness, for the way she had helped Jamie when I couldn't. One evening, as we sat together at the kitchen table, Jamie looked at me and smiled. "You know, Mom, I used to think I had to choose between you and Susan, but I don't. I'm lucky to have two people who care about me." I smiled, feeling a sense of relief. "You don't have to choose, Jamie. There's enough love to go around." He nodded, his eyes shining. "I know, and I'm grateful for both of you." That night, as I lay in bed, I thought about all the ways my life had changed. I realized that love isn't about holding on too tightly. It's about letting go, trusting that the bond you share will survive the distance, the changes, the growing pains. I learned that forgiveness isn't just about letting go of anger. It's about letting go of the need to be everything for someone. It's about accepting that sometimes the people we love need more than we can give, and that's okay. I forgave Jamie for pulling away, for needing space, for finding comfort in another family. I forgave myself for feeling jealous, for being afraid, for not always knowing what to do. I realized that being a mother isn't about being perfect. It's about loving, forgiving, and letting go over and over again. As the seasons changed, so did the rhythm of my life. The house was still quieter than it used to be, but it no longer felt empty. There was a new kind of peace in the silence, a gentle acceptance that life moves forward, even when our hearts want to hold on to the past. Jamie visited more often, sometimes just for a quick meal, sometimes to sit and talk for hours. Each visit felt like a small gift, a reminder that the bond between us was still alive, even if it looked different than before. I learned to cherish these moments, to let them fill the spaces that once felt so lonely. One Sunday afternoon, Jamie and I sat together on the porch, watching the rain fall softly on the garden. The air was cool and fresh, and the world felt quiet and safe. "Do you remember when I was little, and we used to sit out here and watch the rain?" Jamie asked, his voice soft. I smiled, remembering those days. "You used to say the raindrops sounded like tiny footsteps on the roof." He laughed, a warm, familiar sound. "I still think about that sometimes, about how safe I felt here with you." I reached over and squeezed his hand. "You'll always have a place here, Jamie, no matter where life takes you." He nodded, his eyes shining with emotion. "I know, Mom. I really do." We sat in comfortable silence, listening to the rain and the distant sound of birds. I thought about all the years we had shared, all the challenges we had faced, and all the love that had carried us through. I realized then that motherhood isn't about holding on forever. It's about giving your child the roots to grow and the wings to fly. It's about trusting that the love you've given will always be a part of them, even when they find new people to care for and new places to call home. Sometimes love means letting go. Sometimes it means standing quietly in the background, cheering them on as they find their own way. And sometimes it means opening your heart to the people who help your child when you can't. I learned that it's okay to feel sad, to grieve the changes, to miss the way things used to be. But I also learned that there is beauty in letting go, in watching your child become their own person, in seeing them loved by others. As the rain slowed and the sun peeked through the clouds, Jamie turned to me and smiled. "Thanks for never giving up on me, Mom." I smiled back, my heart full. "I never will, Jamie. That's what mothers do." That night, as I sat alone in the quiet house, I felt a deep sense of peace. I knew that Jamie would always be my son, no matter where life took him, no matter who else he called Mom. The love we shared was strong enough to survive any distance, any change, any challenge. I realized that the greatest gift I could give Jamie was the freedom to grow, to change, to find his own happiness, even if it meant letting go. And in letting go, I found a new kind of love, a love that was quieter, gentler, but just as strong. So if you're listening to my story, and you find yourself in a moment of letting go, I hope you remember this. Love is not about holding on too tightly. It's about trusting, forgiving, and opening your heart to whatever comes next. Because in the end, love always finds its way home.